Alright everybody, welcome back to another This Week at Bungie. This is TWAB number 10 on October 28th as we are rounding down the spooky season and we are just finishing up with the Festival of the Lost. Normally, I would have G3 Tyrant here with me, however, he is not feeling well, so I'm going to have to take this on myself. And you guys will just have to put up with me for this one, alright? I'll try to run through it as quick as possible and give you guys my thoughts. It's not too big of a TWAB, so we'll just dive right into it. Like I said, we're in the last week of the Festival of the Lost, so if you guys are still hunting your Spectral and Manifested pages, make sure you go and get those done. Get your candy, get all your masks and the goodies. Do not forget to go to your Triumph section and go to the Festival of the Lost tab. It's under this season. You go to the Season of the Lost section, and then the far right tab, you can go to the Festival of the Lost, and you can start ticking off the triumphs, and that will allow you to claim the Headless Horseman Sparrow, as well as a new shader, and that will unlock the static roll guns that you can purchase from Eva herself. So if you're wondering on how to get those, that's how you got it. Make sure you finish your triumphs, or at least claim the triumphs, because if you don't claim them, the game doesn't register that you've done them per se. So with that, right off the bat, just wanted to let you guys know, get that out the way, and make sure you guys are grinding the last little bit, as Festival of the Lost does end with reset next week on Tuesday. Alright, moving on. Trials matchmaking changes. Last few weekends, Trials of Osiris has been quieter in terms of changes. This was by design. They wanted to give players a few weekends of steady play before making any significant changes or testing out another labs weekend. This gave the team some great data for Trials changes and how players are engaging with the activity and what they need to prioritize changing in the future. So a quick recap of stats from the last few weeks. Our matchmaking times are consistent with the past few weeks. Blowout rates dropped slightly week over week. This is consistent with lower skilled players not playing as much. Average hours played per player remains consistent across skill levels. Overall, the player count went down each week, but that is expected during this portion of the season and is consistent with past Trials and Iron Banner performance. We still don't see any evidence of widespread flawless card resets to avoid the flawless pool. Less than 0.5% of the cards were reset while still flawless and above 3 wins. Even still, the impetus to do this should be removed starting this week. More on that below. They also look into the freelance, as they added a strictly solo queuing section in, so you could just go in solo and you're always guaranteed to match with other solo players, so you didn't have to worry about an entire team stomping you or a pair of people going in and just stomping. You were just hoping to test your might essentially against the others as solo and hoping that you got some good teammates to get you to that lighthouse. So with freelance, they have a graph here showing the average trial games per trials player over the weeks, and it started out with week 1 pretty high, and then it dove down a bit with week 2 and stayed very consistent until week 4. It dropped with week 5, and then it went back up this week with week 6. So it does look like people were more interested in playing the solo queuing activity. I know myself, I was interested in it. We always have a team of 3 for the trials regardless. However, it was nice to try to go in with a solo queue and just kind of poke around and see what we got. I got to 6 wins a few times. I did end up going flawless with the crew, but I didn't want to end up getting that 7th win solo because because of the flawless pool, it would have put me in the flawless pool, and then if they still hadn't gone flawless when I was trying to go flawless with them, it just would have made the whole ordeal a little bit messy, and vice versa if they were to have done it as well, if they had gone flawless and before we had done it as a team in the solo queue. The whole flawless pool kind of messes with that in terms of playing with your friends, so it can be a little bit tricky, but I do believe they talk about that as we move on here. They want to say the player numbers for freelance, they had 244,000 freelance exclusive players, which is absolutely incredible. 120,000 Fireteam exclusive players, 220,000 played both solo and in a Fireteam, and 25.5% of players went flawless, which is lower than any revamp week, likely fallout of matches being fairer, If it doesn't drop below 20% for a weekend, the lighthouse should still feel obtainable. So I did notice this too a little bit. For some matches, it did seem a bit trickier. Maybe that was because we were facing teams of 3 that were always generally used to playing as teams of 3 instead of necessarily just solo queuing in there, since the solo queues would go into the solo queuing labs section. So we were, I guess, consistently facing teams that were generally used to playing trial. So it did seem a little bit tougher, but we still did manage to get the job done. But I do see that why there would be a little bit of a fall off there, because the teams would be a little bit more used to playing with each other. So, and in some circumstances, especially when the flawless pool is enabled, you might end up facing the same team over and over again, and that's just no fun either. The overall blowout rate, games that ended with a 5-0, was almost as low as the best post-revamp week when the flawless pool went active Friday afternoon at 27.8%. That was powered by the significant number of fireteam versus fireteam matches and the solo versus solo matches, which both had 25% blowout rates. So that's, for a blowout rate, that's actually not bad. If it's at 25%, that means majority of the matches went to at least not maybe a 4-0, maybe a 3-2 is a bit more of a closer match, which is what obviously Bungie is hoping for. That they want them to be close matches. They don't want you to just get blown out. So they do have a graph here. I'll leave a link in the description for the TWAB, so you can take a look at it yourself. They have a graph here showing out the blowout rates by hour from day 1 mornings through day 4 evenings as well. So go take a look at that. They aren't happy with the team balance, and they've noticed that how solo playlist isn't doing a great job balancing 2 teams when there aren't any fire team mismatches. For trials, it's currently just picking teams randomly, and they're going to be looking carefully in how teams are selected over the next few weeks and hopefully have a better balance the next time freelance rolls around. This is one of the downsides of using skill-based matchmaking in trials in situations where skill would be helpful to balance the 2 teams of solo players. It isn't even a data point that the system can look at. Speaking of the freelance future, they liked the overall outcome and vibe of the freelance queue. Both playlists seem to have a viable amount of players, and they are looking at running freelance occasionally for the remainder of the season 15, but are still trying to determine what feels right, and they will let us know. I do like that decision. I think having the solo queue option there is a good idea, because it allows it just allows a lot of players to go in feeling a bit better. Like, a lot of players play this game solo. They don't have the friends that can be on at the times that they are necessarily on at, and in order to get a team together, or they just strictly prefer playing solo. So a lot of people just enjoy playing the game solo. So having that solo queue option, I think, is best for them, for the teams. Yeah, that means you're probably going to go against other teams that are used to playing as teams, but I mean, with the skill-based matchmaking, you should still be able to get the job done because it's still within your range. And this way, the solo players still have a better chance, I would say, at going flawless, because they can at least go in and not worry about a stacked team every round. Like, you might not, maybe they go in the first round, they don't go against a stacked team, it's just a random team of 3. That's great. That doesn't mean that's going to happen for all 7 matches in a row that they need. At least with solo, you're guaranteeing that. So I do think that it's good that if they keep it around. They say long term they are exploring some single player solutions, preferably matching full fire teams against other full fire teams, duo plus solo against other duo plus solos, and we don't have a specific release target for this yet, but it will not be prior to Season 16, so that will not be coming out before Season 16. That's an interesting thing to talk about, the full top fire teams versus full fire teams, and duo plus a solo plus a duo plus a solo. You would definitely split the pools up, and I'm not sure if I feel like the waiting times could increase a little bit, and same thing, players that are just going flawless, barely going flawless every week, and that have a team of 3, maybe they're only doing it because it's a team of 2 plus a 1, and if they were to only go against teams of 3 every single time, they might result in more 5-0 stomps. It's a very kind of what if situation. Obviously, it would have to be something that would be tested in the labs, which I do think is a good idea. Bring it out and we'll give it a test. But I am a little bit weary about splitting the 3v3 and plus the duos and the solo. Like, have the solo there, but like the duo plus solos against a team of 3, I think should still be a thing. Moving on though, big one here, flawless pool changes. The flawless pool, which they've been enabling on Sunday at reset, have had some very positive benefits. It raises overall match quality, the blowout rates and etc., significantly, and it raises the overall win rates of solo players. However, it has some drastic downsides. For players who struggle and manage to just barely go flawless, it is a steep cliff to then only play against players who have already gone flawless that week. It also incentivizes behavior that is at odds with the mode and reward system, like resetting a flawless 6-win ticket to keep getting easier matches but worse rewards. It also creates social friction where players need to decide between playing with friends or playing for rewards. And lastly, the timing, 10 a.m. Pacific on Sundays, is awkward if you live anywhere but the Americas. So the timing isn't necessarily the greatest for people across globally, just from depending on what time zone you guys are in. So that is definitely a thing and that's a tough one to do, because there's no way to, that's just as far as I know, but there's no way to fully appease everybody around the world, because everybody has a different time zone that they're in. So you can't necessarily have it start for someone at one time and not the other. Like, it's at one point in time, or like at some point throughout the day, somebody is going to be missing out on it because of the time zone. So that's a very tricky situation that they have there. We'll see what happens with that. They say here, starting tomorrow, they're rolling out a new system. So starting tomorrow, which will be today, as this is up as Friday after reset, and Trials will be fully live now. So this will be live now. They're rolling out a new system leaning into weekly performance metrics. Whenever you match in Trials, in addition to trying to match with people with the same number of card wins, you will also attempt to match with people who have roughly the same number of overall wins for the weekend. If you can't find anyone to match against, it will eventually expand out to find you a less similar match. So for the PvP gods who go flawless 10 times a weekend, they will end up matching with other players who have, for example, 70 plus win cards on their wins on their cards, no matter how they got them. So up for the average teams that get a lucky flawless in on a Friday or Saturday on their first card, they will be matching against other players with around 7 wins, no matter how they got them. We are hoping this gives us as many of the benefits of the flawless pool system in somewhat fairer matches with the significant downsides, without the significant downsides. Specifically, there should be no major inflection point where everything is smooth prior to a win and then everything is overly challenging after. So essentially, if you go flawless and you get your 7-win on your first stack, and then you go into your 8th match, you're not necessarily just going to hit a flawless team that's been flawless and is retained flawless. You're going to match against somebody else that already has 8 wins. Whether they got 4 and then they lost and had a reset and then they got another 4 to get 8, regardless of how they got that 8, they're going to have 8. So it's an interesting system. We'll see how it plays out, because I know a lot of teams will end up getting to 6 and falling at the lighthouse, and then they have to, or falling at the gates, and then they have to reset, and then they start again, and then their 7th match is now their first match, and that could be somebody else's gates, like to stop them. That could be their 7th match that they need to now win. So it kind of interesting. We'll see how this weekend goes. This is why it's always good to have these weekends and to see how the numbers go, because they have to get it into a better standing, because Trials has just been kind of finicky. It was really hot when it came out at the beginning because the loot was good, a lot more accessible. The system that Saint 14 is running, where you can just focus an engram in on the weapons or the armor, is absolutely fantastic, and needs to be done with the Iron Banner. But it has died down week to week, but as I said, that just kind of happens with the season as the season prolongs. Especially right now, the season's kind of in its midpoint right now. It's an extended season because the Witch Queen got delayed, which we knew about a long time ago, so it's not out till February. So that leaves us with another like 4 months of season, and the 30th anniversary isn't out till December, so it gives us another month of pretty much not a whole lot happening in Destiny. So it's just a very dry point, so there's not as many players on the game in general, so that would obviously have an effect on the Trials population. To continue here, after they said that they were changing the flawless pool, they said that while this change allows them to remove the flawless pool, so it is being removed, it will no longer be there, so you don't have to worry about the flawless pool at reset. It does have potential downsides, longer matchmaking times. We think there is a reasonable trade-off here between match quality and matchmaking time. Average trials matchmaking currently sits around 50 seconds. Over the next few weekends, they're going to be looking at how much matchmaking time goes up and to see how it affects match quality. They have some more stats here on game outcomes, overall percentage, fire team versus fire team, and solos. In an ideal world, they would like to get all the numbers to 20% and rather see more 5-4, 5-3 outcomes than the 5-0, 5-1 blowout outcomes. They're always listening to our feedback and will be continuing to make trials the best experience possible. Okay, that is a lot to take in for trials. Like I said, I've already pretty much touched up on everything while we kind of went through it. So it's just a matter of we have to test it and kind of see where it goes from there. Moving on. They are introducing a new community manager. It does not mean that Cosmo and DMG are leaving. They are just simply adding a third member to the team named Liana, aka Hippie. So she is joining. She has a whole thing here saying, "Greetings, Guardians. Happy. I'm excited to be here." It would be a massive understatement. My love for Bungie had long started before becoming a Guardian. Back in the Pathways into Darkness days, it grew with the Marathon, then the Myth, and Oni, and of course Halo, Destiny, evolution of shooters, the humble Chicago beginnings, and the growth seen since then has been inspiring, and to be a part of it has been life-changing. I'm so excited to be here and part of the studio that has accomplished so much in the past 30 years, especially with how Destiny 2 has grown since its release, and I'm not alone in being just a little bit in love with my Guardian, and I can't wait to continue the adventure alongside you all. So this little introduction that she has here. Welcome, Liana, aka Hippie. I'm glad to see you joining the community here and with community managers. You guys have a tough job on Twitter because I see all the things that you guys get hit with all the time. With Twitter's a wild place. It's a wild place, and that's just Twitter, not including Reddit and all the other social media's aspects that you guys are all in charge of, and just all the other aspects of your job in general. So I applaud you guys, and good luck, and hopefully everything works out. Moving on from there, we have some more Halloween stuff. We have some more pumpkin carvings and some more outfits for some Halloween decorations, you know. Just Guardians in general, looking around the city, just doing little Halloween events, cosplay things of nature. So take a look at that. Some cool looking pumpkins, some cool looking Festival of the Lost poster there, inspired by Jurassic Park. So that's a neat one. Definitely look through it. We have some more errors that they have here. They've recently had an increase in the Rutabaga Error. It was an exploit that was discovered to allow players to generate more orbs of power than intended when triggering certain supers. This was the Bubble Titan super that was just pouring out orbs of light. So to prevent exploitation of this issue until a fix could be deployed later this season, players who experience extreme sustained frame rate issues in PvP environments may now encounter a more frequent Rutabaga error. Some of these errors can be mitigated by not alt-tabbing or changing your video settings during matchmaking. Players who encounter the Rutabaga error while participating in PvP for reasons other than reproducing the orb generation issue should report details of why they were doing it to our dedicated help forum thread. They said earlier today the hotfix 3.3.1.2 was released and that included the mini screebs will no longer sink below the ground in the Grandmaster Hollowed Lair Nightfall. Exploits for the Telesto and Raiju's Harness have been fixed, and the exotics have now been re-enabled in all activities. And the Year 1 faction raid and trials ornaments are now correctly list class-specific synthweave as unlock options in the appearance screen. As for the Telesto and the Raiju's Harness, I saw someone said the Raiju's Harness was still not enabled back into the game, so I haven't actually tested that. I have to go check myself. And as for the Telesto, it took about 30 minutes or so, and already it's broken again. It's now reflecting a bunch of bullets. You can pour it on a doorway, and it'll just reflect supers in a doorway. It's I don't even know what to say about Telesto anymore. Everybody, like, it's just become an absolute meme at this point, and it's got to be the bane of Bungie's existence, aside from them just laughing every time it breaks something, because they just can't ever... The gun does what the gun wants. It is its own entity, and it shall forever break Destiny 2 for the foreseeable future, because that's what it wants to do. It is the Telesto. Moving on, like I said, we are also in the final week. I've already went over that. We're in the final week of the Season of the Lost, so the weekly reset, it is over, so go in and grab all the remaining items that you need. For more known issues, the Submachinist medal only appears after eliminating 3 players without dying instead of 2 as specified. The emblem of the MVP of a Trials match incorrectly displays as the observing player's emblem. The Clan Up Triumph may not be unlocking as intended. The We Are Enough Triumph doesn't unlock for players who complete Override Last City. A small arrow is following hunters around when wearing certain pieces of gear. I see it all the time. Players on Steam are experiencing larger than usual FPS drops in the tower, in orbit, and when viewing the roster. The Relic Orb may not spawn in the Corrupted Strike when fighting Sadia. Oh, that's tough. And for a full list of the emergency issues at Destiny 2, please go to the Known Issues article and or the Help Forum. Moving on from there, we have the movies of the week, as you know, every week. So looks like we have some Marvel-inspired one and a Blair Witch-inspired one. They make a little Dune tease as well, which, if you haven't seen it, fantastic movie. Definitely go check that out. Absolutely fantastic. Moving on, we have the Artists of the Week. These are always absolutely fantastic. The artists in the Destiny community never cease to amaze me. They are just always absolutely brilliant, and they just create the coolest things all the time. So please go check out all this art here. It is absolutely fantastic and beautiful. And the last little closing note here as we wrap this up says the festival. Bleh. The Festival of the Lost is coming to a close once again. We are nearing the end of a scheduled seasonal beat for a bit, and it's time for free play next week. Saladin will be hosting an Iron Banner, so mark that on your calendars. And if you need some pinnacle drops or some good rolls on the Iron Banner weapons, I know I could use a better roll on my Peace Bond. I really do like that sidearm. So with the Iron Banner being live next week, you know that there's not going to be Trials next week, as they don't want to overlap them. So the Trials will be taking a break next week, and it should be back the following week. We will still have Trials going through November with the matchmaking changes mentioned in this TWAB. You can also use time to catch up on some catalysts, knock out some triumphs, or finish anything else taking up space in your quest log. They have some fun stuff planned for the 30th anniversary on December 7th, and it's going to be some great time to play Destiny. So that wraps it up for this TWAB. So before I go, I just want to mention here once again that they even mention here that they have some fun stuff planned for the 30th anniversary on December 7th. It is October 29th as of recording this. That is an entire month of time between now and this December 7th. And it really doesn't seem like there's much going to be happening. I highly doubt they're going to continue the story, as I believe the next part of the story is us ridding Savathun of her worm, which should essentially lead directly into Witch Queen. So I highly doubt that we would see it within this next month. So I'm pretty sure this next month is just going to be repeatable stuff happening week to week. Nothing new is going to happen. Just we're doing the legendary, the new legendary Shattered Realm and the legendary difficulty of the new 6-man, the Astral Alignment. But until the December update, when the 30th anniversary comes, that's when we'll have a little bit of a tide over to do that event, get the Galahorn, do that new 6-man activity, and the loot dungeon thing. It looks all really cool and fun. But I don't expect anything happening with the story until after the 30th anniversary, when the story kind of continues, which I'd assume would happen in January. I'm going to go with the 30th anniversary is probably going to be like a month-long event. It'd take place just through Christmas, and then we're probably going to have the Dawning event with Christmas like we normally do. And then after the Dawning event's over, when it's all back to normal, then I would say we're probably going to finally get the continuation of the story, and then things are going to start to get spicy as we lean into the last few weeks heading into the Witch Queen. So if you guys are getting a little bit burnt out or whatever, like, this is a good time to take a break from Destiny, because we don't have much happening for the next month. So by all means, take a break, play something else. Don't burn yourself out before the new event comes out or before the new season comes out, because it's always a tough time when you're just grinding the same thing every single day. You do get burnt out doing it. So take some time, play something else, or if obviously if you're having some fun, if you're still enjoying it, by all means keep playing it. If you're not burnt out, you don't have anything to worry about. So I'm just saying, don't burn yourselves out before the Witch Queen, because it's shaping up to be an absolutely pinnacle moment for Destiny 2. So very excited for that and for the future. But that will wrap it up for me, guys. That was TWAB number 10 once again on October 28th. It was October 29th as I'm recording this. Hope you guys are staying hydrated and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful day. And hope you guys have enjoyed the video. And if you did, it would be absolutely wonderful if you did hit the like button. And please do consider subscribing to the channel for more content in the future. But until next time, once again, have yourselves an absolutely wonderful day. And as always, like I say, stay hydrated, as hydration is key.